Asexual reproduction of Medusa when the temperature of water exceeds the 20 Celsius, but this is normally from gonasia in the colony break away from colony and settle down. The stolon arises from the lower and end of the body, but which produce a new colony of Obelia asexually. This is a special mode of asexual reproduction. Medusa. The Medusa is modified jewels produced as a halo birds. Halo Medusa is modified as jewels as a halo bird from the Sinosaur of the of the blastostyles in spring and summer. Medusa swim freely on the surface water. Medusa has a like a umbrella, tentacles, radial canal, circular canal, and manubrium. It is a mouth, so it is a gut. So it is a gonus. So radial canal. This is a radial canal. mm, Circular canal. So it is a radial canal. It is a velum. It is gonus. Position of statistics. Sub umbrella surface. Structure is a shape which attracts the middle of convex of surface to the blastocysts when the fully formed it breaks free image of mouth and gonotheca. The medusa is circular and thin umbrella-like shape. The convex outer surface is known as the ex-umbrella and convex inner surface is the sub-umbrella. From center of the sub-umbrella arises short projecting manubrium. At its apex is a square mouth surrounded by the four oral lobes. The mouth is arranged activity and manubrium from the enteric activity arises four radial canals which are delicate ciliated tubes. They run to the margin of the well-to-the ciliated circular canal running in the of margin. Then enteric cavity and the canals represent the entrance, which is a distributed effort projecting from the middle of the radial canal are four gonads. Since sexes are separate, they are either four testes or four various. They are patches of the modified sub umbrella ectoderm. Umbrella rectoder. The gonads mature after the medusa escaped from the gonotheca. The edge, the edge of the belly is produced the inward as a thin fold called a velum. The basal The velum is a, but it is a significant in Obelia. The in cases of with velum are called the plaspidotes. Of those with the velum are acrospidot, sizo, 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 so, from the edge of the bell, numerous small solid tentacles and uh, downward the tentacles have a swallow basis due to the accumulation of interstitial cells, which are particularly particular absent from other regions. It is a Medusa, a mature Medusa swimming the water Medusa. One lithocytes, tentacles, circular canals, mouth and radial canals. The basal swelling of the tentacles are called vesicles or bulbs. Pneumocytes are formed continuously in the bulbs from where they migrate to the tentacles. Digestive enzymes are secreted from the ectoderm of bulbs. Near the bulbs, the ectoderm has a pigment, granules, and nerve cells. And nerve cells. They are often called the ciliate, and it is uh, claimed that the celiac are sensory to light, but more probably there are no oculi. The pigment of granules and accumulated excretory matter. Excretory matter. Statocytes is a tiny circular about the bulb of very tentacles. Is a tiny fluid-filled vesicles. Pneumocytes are confined to the manubrium and tentacles are there may be some on the bell margin. They are either marginal census organ called the statocytes, lithocytes lying at irregular intervals are being attached on the sub-umbrella side to the bulbs of eight tentacles. Bulbs of eight tentacles. They are developed in responses to the locomotory locomotor habit. Closed the vesicles lined with the ectoderm and filled with fluid containing the calcareous granules called otoliths. Otoliths. While light the special cells are called the lithocytes. The lining has some sensory cells within sensory process on which the otolith produce the stimulus which is transmitted by the nerve to muscles. The muscles coordinate the snake-like swimming movements of the medusa. And should the medusa become um, stimulated, stimulated, the muscles and contract with uh, right the position of medusa bell. Thus, statistics are balancing organ. Histology of Medusa. The ectoderm mm, the ectoderm the ectoderm covers the bell on all sides. Its epithelium muscular cells are produced into muscles. Process process which run longitudinally in the manubrium and tentacles. In the subumbrella, the muscles processes of the ectoderm are so large in proper, pro- proportion, proportion to the epithelial part that they almost from muscles only. The muscles process from the striated circular muscle and the some radial muscles in the subumbrella. They bring about locomotory movements. The ectoderm of the exumbrella is devoid of musculature. The endoderm line the enteric cavity, enteric cavity and the radial circular canals. The endoderm cells have no muscle processes. They are ciliated epithelial cells. They are digestive between the two ectoderm layers of the bell is a thin sheet of the of endoderm lamella except where the enteron lines. Enteron lines. The endoderm lamella is formed by the fusion of upper and lower layers of the endoderm. The fusion having occurred at all places except in the region of the enteron. Between the ectoderm between the ectoderm and endoderm is thick mesozeal forming the bulk of the bell of the medusa. Manubrium and tentacles. Medusa, manubrium and tentacles. The velum has a double layer of ectoderm and the thick mesozeal in the middle. It has a no endoderm. Medusa, Obelia, Medusa. It is a bulb tentacles. It is a both are uh, both are bulb tentacles. So submerged radial canal, circular canal. So it is a radial canal. It is a gonads. So interradius, subradius, irradius tentacles. Irradius, subradius, interradius, so tentacles. Per radius. Per radius means a middle edge of medusa. So subradius. A radius means the side of near of the per radius. So interradius. A middle of triangle shape. So inter radius tentacles. So radial symmetry of Medusa. Radial symmetry of Medusa. Like a polyp, the Medusa is radially symmetrical. The presence of four radial canals distinguishes the four principles of radial alpha radial of way between any two per radial a radius of the second order or inter radius may be taken off way between any per radius and inter radius on either side of the radius of the third order and the radius of off way between any add radius and the adjacent for the interradius. A radius and of the fourth order of the sub radius. Thus they are four per radius, four interradius, eight a radius and 16 subradius and in Obelia. That radial canals in the angles of the mouth and four of the tentacles are with per radial. Four more tentacles are interradial, and the remaining eight tentacles bearing the lithocytes are irradial, subradial, or of the no importance in the particular from. Development of Medusa. The blastocysts produce the medusa by budding in large numbers. Large numbers. The, the cavity of the blastocysts pushes the phenosac out from a small protuberance or bud. Protuberance of a bud. The bud grows a large and its phenosac becomes like a um, vesicle which is attached to the blastocysts by the narrow stalk. The cavity of the vesicles is continuous with the enteron of blastocysts. The ectoderm of the vesicles separate into two layers. Then inner layer of ectoderm splits and two acquire a cavity called the bell. mm, ra- uh, Rediment. There are now two layers of ectoderm outside the bell um, ligament and on layer on the inner side. The cavity of the bell rudiment assumed the shape of the subumbrella and manubrium is a formed in center. The two layers of ectoderm which enclosed the bell rod, rudiment from the outside of now break leaving a um, marginal and circular self called the velum. Medusa, the velum grows becomes permanent bud in Obelia. It decreases and becomes significant. The manubrium acquires a mouth and marginal tentacles are formed at the start, a break, and it aperture closed up to us. The medusa is formed which is a set free. It escaped from the gonopy. Lateral it gonads and led to nutrition. The medusa are carnivorous and the process of their nutrition are essential. Uh, the same as in the polyp. The food consists of living animals or bodies of the animals. Digestion is both extracellular and intracellular. Extracellular digestion occurs in the main part of the gastrovascular cavity and is purely proteolytic. Hyman 1940 has to show that although food particles are distributed throughout the gastrovascular cavity, most intracellular digestion takes place in the manubrium, in the stomach, and mm, tentacular bulbs. Bulbs. The digested food is distributed to the entire medusa through the system of radial and circular canal. Muscular system. The muscular system of medusa is somewhat more specialized than in the polyp. The gastrodermal cells lack the contractile extension, and the muscular system is thus uh, restricted to the epidermal layer. Furthermore, the muscular system is best developed around the bell margin and subumbrella surface where the fibers from the radial and circular system. Some of the epitheliomuscular cells of the brain have their contractile extension originated from a powerful circular bond of the fiber which are the striated. The contraction of the muscular system, particularly of the circular fibers, and produce the mm, pulsations of the bell. The swimming movement of the medusa is a dependent based on those pulsations uh, and is largely ventricle in lamella direction of horizontal. The movement of dependent upon the water currents. Some of the epithelial muscular cells of the velum have their contractile extension are originated to from form a powerful circular bonds of fiber which are created the contraction of the muscular system. The particularly of circular fibers produce the pulsation of the bell. The swimming movement of the medusa is dependent based on those pulsation and the largely ventricle in lamellar directions. Horizontal movement is the dependent upon water currents. Some of the epithelial muscular cells of the velum have their contractile extension originated from a powerful circular bonds and fibers which arises created the contraction of the muscular system, particularly of circular fibers and produce the pulsation of the bell. A swimming movement of the medusa is dependent based on those pulsation of, and is largely ventricle and lamellar direction horizontal movement in the dependent upon water currents. Mesogeal tentacles. So observe the radial tentacles of Medusa, statocysts, um, statolith cells, so nervous system. The nervous system of Medusa is more highly specialized senses organ. The bell margin of is richly supplied with the sensory cells and also contain two types of Drew senses organ: light sensitive and oculi and statocytes and statocytes. The oculi consist of the patches of a pigment and photoreceptor cells organized either within a flat disc or a pit with the oculi are typically typically located on the side of the tentacular bulbs. The statocytes are located between the tentacles are associated with the tentacular bulbs at the tentacle base. They may be there in the form of the pits or closed vesicles, but in both uh, areas assess the wall contain the sensory cells with the bristles. The projecting into the lumen, the attached with the bristle or formed too many calic- calcareous contraction known as the statoliths. The statocytes act the organ of the equilibrium. When the bell statoliths and statoliths responded to the pull of gravity and stimulate with the sensory bristles to which they are attached the animal many then responding by the muscular contraction of the raising itself back into horizontal position. Reproductive organ. The medusa are sexual or reproductive zoids and processing, processing, processing gonads. The medusa are these these they have either four testes or four various in the subumbrella just below the radial canals. A gonad has an outer ectoderm and inner endoderm with mesogyl between the two layers. The gonad has a small diverticulum of the radial canal. The germ cells of the obelia do not arise in the gonads. They arise from the interstitial cells of the ectoderm of the blastocysts where they may be seen in various stages of maturation. Then they migrate into the medusa. The, mm, then through the radial canal, they take up either position in the ectoderm of the gonads. When germ cells are mature, the gonads rupture and spermatozoa and ova are discharged externally into water. Life history of Obelia. Fertilization. Fertilization usually takes place in open seawater, where the gametes are set free. Sometimes the sperms are carried into the female medusa with water currents it, and they fertilizing the eggs in the shoot site. Ship water current, and they fertilize the egg inside. However, the parent medusa dies soon after lam- liberating their respective gametes. Development. The zygote undergoes the complete uh, are haloblastic and equal cleavage to form a single layer blastula with the blastocoel. Some cells and migrate into blastocoel, mm, eventually filling it completely to from the solid form a solid gastrula known as the stereogastrula. Its outer cells layer becomes the ectoderm and inner cells mask the endoderm. The gastrula elongated and its outer layer of ectoderm cells becomes ciliated, and now it is called the planula. Soon, soon a cavity called the enteron develops in the solid ectodermal cells most but by the process of the lamination, and the planula becomes a two-layer a larva having a outer ciliated ectodermal cells and inner layer of the endodermal cells. The planula, after a short free swimming extension, settle on some solid object by its borders end. The free ends from the manubrium which the a mouth and circulate of tentacles. Thus, a simple polyp or hydrola is formed which grow hydrolyza from its base which Obelia colony is formed by budding. It is a Obelia life cycle. Obelia, it is a hydrophallus. It is a hydrorhiza, parallel shape of surface. So hydrorhiza called as a hydrorhiza. So tree like a tree, like a hydrophallus. Hydrophallus ectoderm or endoderm produce the buds. Uh, the buds extension are growth, gonasium and polyp. So polyp is a food organism. Gonasium are a sexual. organism. Gonasium produces the medusa. Medusa, which type of, how many types of the medusa? Gonasium, the female medusa are produced, male medusa are produced. So sperm cells, ovum, so related to medusa. So two associate, female and male with meat, two cells. It is called as a zygote. It is a fertilization. Two cells, stages of two stages. Zygote division into uh, cleavages. It is called as a cleavage. Two divided, first two divided two cells, fourth second divided four cells. After formation to four cells switched in three division, fourth division formed to blastula. Blastula free swimming. So blastula enlarged, it's ciliated. It is a free larva, ciliated planula larva. Planula larva based on the movements, based on surface of bottom of sea. It is a planular growth to hydra, hydra to polyp. So adult to Obelia. Thank you.